This is Behind the Law with Justin Clark on ESPN 580 Orlando.
You ready, Ray? And welcome to the program. It's another edition of Behind the Law right here on ESPN 580 Orlando. Thank you for spending your evenings here with us. Any questions that you have will be answered at 321-282-1055. My name is Justin Clark. To my left, my co-host, good friend, Allie McCarroll. Allie Mac, what's up? How are you?
I'm doing great.
We follow Nick Grinowitz, Nicky Football, every single weeknight. Great show today, Nick. A lot of great information. I know we've got the Super Bowl coming up. Nick is your man for all things sports right here on ESPN 580 Orlando. If you'd like, if you want to watch the program, go to Facebook at Behind the Law Radio. You can watch the show right there every single day. And also, don't forget to watch the TV program. It's Behind the Law on television this Sunday and every Sunday, 10 a.m. on TV 27. Very special show in store for you today. We're going to do what's going on with Allie Mack. A lot of news stories here locally to get to. Very busy show. We also have one of the best lawyers in town, a good friend of the show, James Simmons with the Simmons Law Group. We're going to talk to him about personal injury, employment law, criminal law, a bunch of different things. So if you want to ask a real lawyer real questions, you're going to want to stick around. So I've been up for a long time today, Allie Mack. 1:30 a.m.
Why?
I got up at 1:30. I haven't even eaten yet today.
What'd you do?
At 1:30 a.m.
gym?
today. I didn't go to any gym. Oh, yeah, I did go to the gym at 6. But I did something else before that. I get a call to my answering service. 1:30 a.m. today.
Yes.
Eustis Police Department needs to talk to you right away. What? Why? I mean, I didn't do anything. It's like I've been drinking or anything. I was at home asleep in bed. So, of course, I immediately call the Eustis Police Department. I'm like, yeah, what have I done? What's up, guys?
It wasn't me.
They're like, car just drove through your law firm and insurance company. So the law firm has a location out in Eustis, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a building that we own, and it's has 3 different condominiums inside. So the insurance company that we own called I Know We Insurance is there, along with the law firm. Look, if you want to see what happened to our building last night, a car literally drove all the way through our building. This building, this is not one of these made out of wood buildings. This is a concrete block building. It went right into someone's office. I mean, if this happened during the day, one of our employees would have been sitting there. It would have been an absolute tragedy. Look, if you want to see the pictures, go to @Behind the Law Radio. You're going to be shocked at what happens. I've been up since 1:30 a.m. I mean, but I was thinking about this too. I have 2 little kids.
You do?
If my kids were like 16 or 17, already out driving around on the streets, and I got a call like that from the police department, imagine how scared you would be then.
Oh my
I mean, this is just a building.
Yeah.
But I was like, thank God my kids are only 6 and 1, and they're at home with me. I don't have to worry about them. But I did think about that. Parents who have the kids out at night, how scary that must be.
I think about that all the time. I have a 22-year-old. So sometimes when she gets out of work at 1 o'clock in the morning, she calls me just to say hello. But if she doesn't leave a message, I'm panicking.
I bet.
I'm calling her in the morning. Is everything okay? She's, sleeping because she worked late. But no, definitely. I would be very, very, very upset to get a call that late.
It was a mess. So apparently, though, the guy who, look, I hope the guy's okay. Of course, I don't wish anything. It's just a building. I really don't care. We can fix the building. He was out walking around, no problem. I don't know how his car was completely smashed.
Was he drunk? Was he?
I don't have an official report on that yet.
No?
I mean, obviously at 1:30 in the morning, you can make some assumptions.
Did he fall asleep? Some people fall asleep
we
on
just
the
don't
road,
know.
or?
We just don't know.
Wow.
I mean, the speed limit's 35 miles an hour right there. He must have been going like 60. I mean, he went directly through the building.
Yeah.
You saw the pictures?
Yeah.
It was insane.
I noticed some people that live in Houston were also residents of Houston were also saying, that they've been trying to get that speed limit changed because they live around in the area and there has been some accidents that happen
in
around
Eustis.
that area. Yeah,
Okay.
in that specific street.
Yeah, it's actually directly next to the Eustis Police Department as well. I mean, right there. So it's not a good place to speed. And I know you're going to do a story about the New Orleans Saints guy who got a DUI, but I'm also saying don't ever drink and drive, number one. But if you're going to drink and drive, speeding too? Are you an idiot? Right? I mean, if you're going to drink and drive, I'm telling you, don't do it.
Well,
but even if you
Uber.
Are, please don't friggin' speed too.
Drive
That's
as
just
slow
stupid.
As you can.
I think
call an Uber.
When we do what's going on with Allie Mack here in just a minute, you're going to tell me the story about the Saints guy, and I think he was speeding. In fact, without further ado,
if it's on the internet, she's talking about it. It's What's Going On with Allie Mack.
What's going on? What's going on?
What's going on?
What's up, Allie Mack? What's in the news?
Well, what's in the news is once again, of course, the Saints. They were robbed. They were robbed. Well, apparently Harry Connick Jr. also is boycotting the Super Bowl.
Oh God.
He's
We
saying
don't
the
care.
refs screwed the Saints. Can I say screwed?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
You're all set.
There's a lot of things apparently I can't
yeah,
say.
it's
but,
okay. Don't
you know.
worry.
So what do you? Are you boycotting the Super Bowl as well?
No, but my daughter does call it the stupid bowl. She does every year saying, "Are we watching the stupid bowl?" And this is not like she mispronounces it. She thinks it's dumb, because Dad wants to go watch it with his friends and things. So she's like, "We have to watch the stupid bowl again." Yeah, of course we do. The Patriots are playing.
Oh, well, yeah, you have to play.
Yeah.
Well, you have to watch. But no, I'm not going to boycott, but I get it. I'm going to boycott maybe until the day of the Super Bowl. I'm not watching it. But yes, I do think the Saints were it was pretty messed up. They were robbed of their opportunity to go to the Super Bowl, most definitely. So that's something that's in the news today, and people are talking about that. Another thing that I want to speak about is the arrest made. Where is it? Nope,
Well,
that
let
was
me
a
ask you
different
this
one.
question then, Allie Mac. I was thinking about it today. Because I'm a really nice guy. I mean, generally speaking, I'm a nice guy, okay? But when you're stopped behind someone at a red light, and I don't have anyone else to talk to about this sort of thing, so I need to ask you. You're the only person I trust with this. When you're behind someone at a red light, they're right in front of you, right?
Uh-huh.
And the light turns green. I mean, how many seconds, on a Mississippi scale, how many seconds do I wait before I have to beep at them?
Oh, I gun it.
So you go
I'm
right
like,
into the beep? Oh,
no,
see,
I
no.
don't. I wait a couple minutes. I mean,
Couple
you
minutes?
know, no,
You're
well,
going to
I
wait through like four
I wait
lights.
a little bit because I have to then hit send over here on my phone too.
So, what,
I'm kidding.
2 seconds?
I'm kidding. No,
That's not
I
very
might
good.
wait maybe 5 seconds, 10
Okay.
seconds or so. If it goes past 10 seconds, I'm
Yeah.
like getting a little anxious, getting out of the car, going like, hey. So
Because I did beep at someone today. I felt terrible, but it was like a solid 5 Mississippi, I think.
oh wow,
Yeah.
what were they doing? Were they
Playing on their phone. Of
Oh,
course
okay.
they were.
Well,
yeah.
then they deserved it.
Okay, good. Fine.
Definitely.
All right, New
Definitely.
Orleans Saints guy gets pulled over, DUI. What happened? Do you remember?
Let me see. I'm trying to pull it up because I didn't know whether we were going to talk about it or not. So let me just tell you one more thing.
Please.
As far as did you know that Florida is the most dangerous city for pedestrians? Did
I've
you
been
know
reading this, and I find it unusual because at every single place near my house, we've got this W Hotel. I think it's the Westin.
The Westin?
The Westin. And then there's like all these bars and restaurants across the street.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally, the lights at this crosswalk are insane. Like, it's flashing at you like pedestrian. So I don't know. I don't understand why it's so unsafe here. But any theories on that? I don't know.
Well, they're
Is it
saying,
Disney?
Maybe it's tourists.
I just blame everything
maybe
on
it's just,
Disney. Just blame it on Disney. It's probably Disney's fault.
I don't. Well, it might. Well, I'm not saying yes. But the cities that are the specific cities in Central Florida are Orlando, Kissimmee, and Sanford. What's in Sanford?
I don't know.
So I don't know where they get that. So I don't know if it's to do with the tourists, or I don't know if there's to do with just maybe late night partying and
I did hear that
sure.
Central Florida is number one in pedestrian accidents at this point. Car v. pedestrian. So
and
I don't know why.
That's
I
great
can't
for
tell you.
that's great for you, right?
No, come on. That's
Well, no, not that it's great for you, but
supposed to say that off the air.
you know what I'm talking about. So remember we were talking about this story probably like last week. There was a woman that was in a vegetative state that all of a sudden gave birth, that was pregnant.
I think I'd blocked you out on that one, but remind me.
So there was an arrest made in the rape of a woman that was in a vegetative state. I think she was in a vegetative state for like over 20 years or something. And yeah, they found one of
that
the
is
nurses, one of the
disgusting.
people that were working there through DNA, obviously.
Right.
Yeah, he
That's
raped her. So
absolutely gross.
he was caught, and right now he's going through the process. So. That's something that is, I'm going to be kind of keeping and following the news. But breaking news right now, there's an incident over in SunTrust over in Sebring.
Where is Sebring again?
So,
is that place that's kind of like
that
between
like
here and Fort
Point
Myers if you go
Sienna?
backwoods?
Isn't that by Point
Back
Sienna?
roads? I think it's kind of between here and Fort Myers if you go
Fort
back
Myers.
roads. I think.
So I mean,
Don't quote
I
me.
was trying to get some information on that. They were doing a live feed, but the sound is off, and they're not really doing much information. So I think it's an active scene right now. So, but that's in the news today, unless you have anything else.
Thank you, Allie Mack. We have a special show in store for you today. Just on the other side of this break, we're going to talk to James Simmons. Simmons Law Group, get your legal questions ready. My name is Justin Clark. It is Behind the Law, ESPN 580 Orlando. Check 1 2 1 2. Check. I can't take the echo.
Now back to Behind the Law with Justin Clark, right here on ESPN 580 Orlando.
Welcome back to the show. It is Behind the Law, ESPN 580 Orlando. Justin Clark here with you as we are every single weeknight, 8 o'clock p.m. following Nick Grenowitz and Live Local Loud. If you have any questions, 321-282-1055. Follow us at Behind the Law Radio. Allie Mack is here, the beautiful Brianna. Brianna, welcome to the show, by the way. I don't think I said hi to you earlier. What's up?
What is up with that?
Well, it could be.
Welcome, Brianna.
Could be I was afraid I was going to hear your echo. That might be the number one problem, but hey, who knows about that.
I like it.
We wanted to welcome a special guest to the show today. James Simmons, he's with the Simmons Law Group. What's up, James? How are you, man? Thanks for coming in.
Doing great. Thank you for the invite.
Give me a little history. I know you're a well-known lawyer around town, worked at Newland's office before on the PI side, but you also did insurance defense work also.
Right.
So you've kind of seen both sides of things on the legal side. How do you think that helps you in your practice of law, working, number one, for a few years on the insurance company side, knowing how it works with adjusters and things, and then working on the actual dealing with the consumer, the injured person side?
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, that was one of the goals that I had. One of the main things that will describe me or define me is the fact that I had a pretty catastrophic auto accident. Actually, motorcycle accident. And right while I was in law school, almost died, went into ICU and spent a week there, and when I got out of the hospital,
When was this?
This was in 2008.
You were in law school at the time?
I was in law school at the time.
God.
Wow.
And it was actually after my first year, riding a crotch rocket, and basically lost control, went to a concrete column, flew off the bike. You
still ride?
No. No.
Really?
No. But,
That's advice.
the thing I realized was that folks who are involved in these types of traumatic incidents, they're unprotected. I mean, I was a student, didn't have health insurance, come out of the hospital with over 150 grand in bills, trying to figure out how to deal with, that and get my life back on track. And then I realized, you know what, maybe I should refocus what I want to do in law school and what I want to do as a lawyer and, try to help some people and that are in similar situations as myself. And so that's what I did. I finished law school. I started with a defense firm in Tallahassee, Quintero's Wood and Boyer, and kind of learned the other side. And the good thing about that is, I worked at Quintero's and I worked at another big firm, Cole Scott. And, you learn the other side. You learn, what adjusters are looking for, what insurance companies are looking for, what business owners are looking for in a claim, and how they evaluate things. And, you kind of realize, okay, they're not really looking at the sob stories or anything like that. They just want to look at hard facts and numbers and put values on people. And so learning that side of it helped me on the plaintiff side or, helping folks. Because when I started working for a pretty large personal injury firm here in town, it was more of the personal aspect. I got to help people more on a personal level, see how it affects them on a day-to-day basis. And then I know that, from what offers I'm getting from the insurance companies or how they're telling me how they're evaluating the case helps me maximize my clients' cases because now I know what arguments I need to do to change their position.
Are some insurance companies just cheap generally? I mean,
Yes.
are there some that are just cheap and some that pay okay? I mean,
about that
we can
one.
name names. There's really nothing wrong with us talking about it. So when you get a case across your desk, a client comes in and hires you, they got injured in an automobile accident, and you see the insurance company on the other side is blank. You're like, oh, God.
Yeah, I will tell you, what it is for me is...
He's deflecting.
Well, no. I will say there are certain insurance companies, yes, they are cheap. Yes, they are conservative and try to just hem you down. But guess what? They can't beat a good case. And so as long as I got a good case, I've got a good argument.
Yeah.
Even if it's a weak argument, but they think it's good, I'm going to make something out of it.
So which insurance companies are cheap? You don't want to say. It's fine.
I'll tell you all day. State Farm, I can't stand
Is
you.
that right?
No, I'm just playing. Yeah.
I hear a lot of Geico being a little bit on the
I will
low
I will tell you,
side.
I have a lot of friends at State Farm, Geico that I knew from the other side. I will tell you that your owners and your bosses are pretty tough, and they like to stick it to people, but they've been fair with me when they know that. It's the right thing to do.
A lot of us see Dan Newland commercials. You worked there for a while after the defense side. How is Dan in real life?
He's pretty much like you see in the commercials.
Yeah?
He's a good guy. He's got a good heart. He's a little flashy and flamboyant sometimes, with
But
the
aren't we
concerts.
all?
But
Did you see Allie Mack at the Citrus Club?
but I'll tell you what, he showed me the ropes. He's kind of been a mentor in certain ways, and kind of showed me that there's things that I can do to help folks on a more personal level, and that's the reason why I decided to make my own firm.
So, I mean, I think Central Florida is probably one of the most saturated markets
It
when it
is.
comes to personal injury attorneys, not just in Florida, but in the entire country. There's no doubt about that. I mean, it's
Right.
scientifically proved, just based on the spending advertising dollars-wise from PI attorneys in this market. What do you think separates the Simmons Law Group from some of the others?
Well, I will tell you, I mean, with me, it's more so of we want to give you the small firm feel with the large firm type resources and success rates. And so what I like to do is I like to get down with folks in a personal level, meet with them, go through, how I'm going to be able to help them, give them a game plan. Every client of mine has my cell phone number, and so they call me. I answer the phone weekends, weeknights, things of that nature. I try to do a little bit more of a personal touch, and it's hard when you bring in a lot of cases, but at the end of the day, most of personal injury is customer service.
It is.
And if you don't provide proper customer service, you're not going to keep clients or get clients to come back to you or have referrals. And so that's what separates me is I'm more of a in your face. I'm personal, and people know that I'm passionate about what I do.
It's Behind the Law, ESPN 580 Orlando. Justin Clark, Allie Mack, joined today by James Simmons with the Simmons Law Group, PLLC. Where's your office, James?
It's in Lake Mary.
Oh, nice. You're right down the street. Where?
Not too far. It's off of Crescent Executive Boulevard, one of those
You
executive
live up that way,
suites.
too?
I'm south east Orlando, Waterford Lakes.
What a terrible ride.
It's
We
a
need to
long
switch
ride.
offices,
yeah,
bro.
it's a long ride. It's a long.
Yeah,
but I also have some satellite offices in Orlando, so we make it convenient for clients.
Gotcha. Let me ask you a very important question, I think, because many of us drive down the interstate and we see billboards. I got $1 million. I got $500,000. Does that mean I really net that after an accident?
Well, no. Okay, so I will, obviously the big numbers you see, those are actual settlements. Those are actual results that the lawyers have obtained. But what they don't inform you is that you also have to subtract the attorney's fees and medical expenses. Obviously, for you to get a six-figure plus settlement, that means you had some pretty bad injuries and probably some high medical expenses that have to be covered by something, and that's what the settlement's for. It's to deal with the current medical and help you with your future pain and suffering and future issues that you're going to run into.
So let's just say hypothetically, let's use the $1 million billboard, okay? It says, hey, I got $1 million for my personal injury case. What is a good day for me net? 50% of that? 60% of that? I mean, what's average and a really good day for me as the injured party?
A good day, 60%.
Okay, so if I got to walk away with $600,000 after paying meds and lawyers and all that, that's a pretty good day.
That's a great day.
But describe to me some of the injuries that I would need, or really just how bad the accident would have to be to get to an $1 million settlement.
First and foremost, I don't think anybody wants $1 million settlement. Okay, anytime you start talking about millions, it's something catastrophic that. It's not going to make any difference to the person who was actually hurt or passed away or the family. So typically, if you're getting $1 million plus and you're alive, sounds kind of morbid. I'm sorry, but I mean it typically means you've had some traumatic brain injury, loss of limb, multiple surgeries, things that obviously if you went through it, throwing some money at it is not really going to be the best result.
Do all of these crazy people out there driving, even sometimes driving drunk, sometimes speeding out there on these dangerous interstates or getting on the interstate through these on-ramps now with this stupid construction that the on-ramps are like, an inch long. These dangerous, dangerous people out there driving who could injure me or my family, are they required to have insurance coverage that would protect me in the event of an accident? Let's ask that question to James Simmons right on the other side of this break. It's Behind the Law, ESPN 580 Orlando. Test 1, 2. Ugh.
PN 580 Orlando. Now back to Behind the Law with Justin Clark, right here on ESPN 580 Orlando.
Welcome back to the show. It is Behind the Law, ESPN 580 Orlando. My name is Justin Clark. To my left, good friend, co-host Allie Mack. Hello, Allie Mack. How are you?
Hello.
The beautiful Brianna is directly next to me on my right. Brianna, what's going on?
Not too much, Justin.
Okay. 321-282-1055. Follow us at Behind the Law Radio on Facebook, Instagram. You can watch the show right there. Don't forget, please set your television sets for Behind the Law on television this Sunday and every Sunday, 10 a.m. on TV 27. We join you every single weeknight, 8 o'clock p.m. here on our favorite sports radio station. Right after the live, local, and loud, Nick Grinowitz, Nicky Football holding down the fort for us before. Allie Mack, good friend here joining us today talking all things law. I mean, it is a sports law lifestyle program, right? Introduce to us to our good friend here today.
Well, I met James back. I think I known you for 2 years or so. I think when you first started with Newland,
So that would've been
you were a little bit 3.5.
ago.
Okay, well, I missed a year.
It's fine.
So
Time flies.
what I really liked about James is I was representing a medical office, and he was very thorough with his questioning, and he was very thorough with what kind of doctors he wanted to meet the doctors. So I thought that was very good of an attorney to want to meet the doctors and be very thorough, because I mean ultimately that's his case, and you're going to be sending cases over, so you want to make sure it's a reputable doctor. So that's something that was really impressive for me as a marketer, marketing to different attorneys. So James Simmons, and I'm glad you started your own firm, and congratulations.
Thank you.
And much success to you, and I'm happy to have you on the show.
I appreciate that. I'm happy to be here.
Let me ask you this question. A lot of crazy people out there driving, right?
Yes, sir.
You or any of our family members could get injured by someone out there driving all crazy, driving drunk, whatever it is. Are people in Florida required to carry bodily injured insurance, whereas if they hit us and cause an injury, they would have to pay for our medicals and pain and suffering?
This is going to come as a shock to a lot of people, but no. Florida is what's called a no-fault state, and so folks think that means that it doesn't matter whose fault it is, but no, what that means is that Florida only requires certain types of coverage, and that's not a coverage that would pay to help someone who's injured in an accident other than that driver or the occupants of the vehicle that was in the accident. So basically, no, the other side, or the at-fault vehicle, if you want to put it that way, does not have to carry bodily injury coverage. And the sad thing is, a lot of people are in accidents and are in a bad situation because the person that hit them doesn't have insurance, and they don't have what's called uninsured motorist coverage, which anyone who's listening or watching right now, I want you to make sure you take a note to look at your policy and see if you've got uninsured motorists, because if you don't have it, because insurance companies don't advertise it in Florida as much, but if you don't have it, you're at risk.
I mean, I think that's a very, very good point. I mean, I think even if your insurance agent is not almost making you get the coverage, I mean, I think they're making a mistake, right? I mean, we're talking about, this is an insurance policy that's not very expensive, that as long as you have, even if someone who has no insurance hits you, you're going to be covered as if they did have insurance. But here's another thing. So, James, when you're dealing with someone who gets hit by someone without bodily injury coverage, right, and you're having to go after their coverage, how do you find those insurance companies to deal with typically?
You know what? And that's another surprise. Typically, your own insurance fights you harder than the at-fault's insurance. The reason being is because you've been paying your premiums for months and years and et cetera, and they don't want to pay you back when you're entitled to it. And so they will make you jump through a bunch of hoops just so that you can recover. I'll give you a perfect example. I signed 2 clients a few months ago, and what happened was they were trying to pursue their own claim. They were in a hit and run. The vehicle hit them on I-4 and kept going. And so husband and wife were trying to pursue the claim by themselves through Travelers. Sorry, said the insurance company.
That's all right. Who
But
cares?
the insurance company didn't tell them, hey, you have a source out here that can pay for your injuries aside from what we're paying towards your medical. And so they just waited until there's a source on everyone's policy that pays your medical. It's called personal injury protection. They waited until that was exhausted, until that source was gone, which that only pays medical providers. And then they tried to close the case on my 2 clients. Well,
Wow.
my 2 clients said, wait a minute, I think we should be entitled to more than this. And that's when they reached out to me, and we got them a pretty significant settlement after that.
I hope so. That sounds
Yeah.
good to me. Let me ask you another question. James Simmons joining us, by the way, the Simmons Law Group right up in Lake Mary, Florida. A lot of times, many of these personal injury cases settle prior to filing suit. So you don't necessarily have to file a lawsuit to settle your case, but at some point, you have to make a decision with the client. The insurance company is only offering this. This is as high as they're ever going to go. Right. The other option is filing suit. When you do that, when you have that talk with a client and you say, if we're going to file suit, we need to be prepared to be in this case together for how long?
I typically tell my clients that it can go anywhere between 2 and 4 years. Why? Because here in Central Florida, to get on the docket and get a trial date, it's going to at least be 2 years before you get a trial date. Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't resolve your case before that time. But as you said, you're making a big commitment. At this point, I'm going to war. I'm rolling my sleeves up, and I'm fighting for you, and I am preparing for trial because that's the end game. And so it's a very serious matter, and it could take 2 to 4 years depending on, once you have trial, and then if you have to appeal, that could be another 2 years.
It's Behind the Law, ESPN 580 Orlando. Justin Clark, Allie Mack, joined today by James Simmons, Simmons Law Group. What about legal fees? What's a typical percentage that you take out of the settlement, and then does that go up if we have to file suit?
Yes, that's a perfect and great question. So what you'll find is most law firms, they follow the Florida Bar, and the Florida Bar gives guidelines as to what we can charge on certain types of cases. I work all of my personal injury cases on contingency fee, meaning that I don't get paid unless I get you a settlement or get you a recovery. And so the way that fee works, it's 33 1/3%. Every law firm in this state is going to say that it's a standard 33 1/3%. And then just like that, once you go into litigation or once you file a lawsuit, I sit down with the clients. I talk to them about the seriousness of it. If they're ready to go through with the lawsuit process, the fee goes up to 40%. And that's also standard. It's all regulated by the bar.
Let me talk to you because you worked on the defense side. So let's say that you have a client that comes in, they're injured in an accident, they're not happy with the settlement, so you have to file suit. When you're on the defense side, did you find that not the firms you work for, but generally speaking, that defense counsel wants to kind of build their file for several months, maybe a year, because this is a new case for them too. They want to try to get their hours billed. Do you think that really goes on sort of behind the scenes?
I definitely do, and I'm not talking about firms that I've worked at before, but it does happen at a lot of these defense firms. What they want to do is, a lot of times the first time that attorney gets the case is when the suit's been filed, and so the only way that defense attorney is going to get paid is if he bills hours on it, and so he's going to try to string this thing along for as long as he can so that he can get as much from his client in hourly fees that he can, now, there are some insurance companies that are savvy to this, and what they do is they put together guidelines and things to kind of minimize having to let an attorney kind of run up the bill. But the flip side of that is, obviously, I represent somebody who's really been hurt and is having to wait through this process because someone is intentionally, trying to pad their pocket.
A lot of our listeners are asking good questions here, and I can actually see them, Allie Mac. Thanks. I like it when you turn the screen that way. It's very nice. Linda Barrett is asking, what about PIP? James Simmons, tell me about PIP.
So PIP is personal injury protection. Sorry, and what that is that's the source of coverage on your own insurance policy, your insurance, that covers, and most times it's 10,000 of your medical expenses. Now, it also can reimburse some things like wages and mileage and things of that nature, but it's capped at 10,000, so that's going to run out pretty quick once you go to an ER and a few chiropractic visits. So that's why it's so important to realize here in Florida that benefit doesn't go too far, and you have to have some additional coverages to protect yourself.
Did you know that after an accident, there's a certain amount of days that you have to go seek medical treatment, or you could lose out on that PIP coverage? Let's answer that question right on the other side of this break. It is Behind the Law, ESPN 580 Orlando.
Now back to Behind the Law with Justin Clark, right here on ESPN 580 Orlando.
Welcome back to the program. One final segment ahead of Behind the Law, ESPN 580 Orlando. My name is Justin Clark. If you have any questions whatsoever, 321-282-1055. Allie Mac is here. Hello, Allie Mac.
Hello.
The beautiful Brianna's here pushing the buttons, making sure we're live on the air. Thank you for joining us every single weeknight, 8 o'clock p.m. Very special guest today, James Simmons, the Simmons Law Group. I knew I didn't want to mess with you, even when I first saw you.
I know. It's like.
But then during the break, you're telling me that you are an expert in what?
No, I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah.
I shoot three-pointers. That's about all I do, man. That's about the physical contact as I get. So,
Cool.
How have you been doing that? Brazilian? I don't even know how to spell it.
Brazilian
Jiu-Jitsu.
Right.
How have you been doing
And you can call it BJJ for short.
That's easier.
Allie
Mac is blushing.
I trained a little bit in Jacksonville, and about actually last January is when I started taking it a little bit more serious. I wanted to kind of get more healthier, and it's a great sport to kind of learn a lot about yourself in adversity, and it's translated a lot to my practice.
Beautiful. Tell me, how do we reach out to you? What's your website, phone number, that sort of thing? We have other questions.
All right, so you can reach me at mylegalchampions.com, and that's just how it's spelled, mylegalchampions.com. And my phone number is 407-454-3000. Again, 407-454-3000.
So let's talk about this PIP rule. Before the break, we were talking about PIP, personal injury protection, meaning that no fault insurance is going to cover the first essentially $10,000. But isn't there a time limit on that if you don't get medical treatment, you're going to lose it?
14 days.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, I mean, explain what that means. At 14 days, do you count the day of the accident? Or is this like a real sort of line in the sand? You got to get the treatment in 14 days?
So the 14-day rule is so that you can qualify for that personal injury protection benefit, and the insurance companies are keeping a clock, and they'll start watching it. And so what I always recommend is that you go seek treatment if you're hurt, obviously, as soon as you can. Go to an urgent care, go to a chiropractor, go to an ER. The reason being is because even if you wait 3-4 days, 5 days, and then treat, although you will get your benefits because you made it within the 14 days, you're also raising a question with the insurance company of, are you really hurt? Mm-hmm. Why'd you wait so long to go see some help? So.
Have you ever handled a case where the defendant or the negligent party was from another country?
Yes.
And how does that change things? Does it change things at all?
It changes things quite a bit, and a lot of times where you'll see that is
Disney. We blame everything on Disney.
I was going to say Disney.
Disney comes up again.
These areas.
Send me free tickets. We'll stop talking trash.
But yeah. So folks are driving around in rental cars, and that's what happens. You'll get hit, and there may be a couple layers of coverage at that point. It would be the rental car and then the actual driver. Tracking that driver down is the first thing. You have to. 9 times out of 10, if they have insurance, then you have to go through that avenue. But a lot of times you may have to file suit against someone in another country. And if that happens, I had one where we had to file suit against someone that was in the UK, and we had to go through The Hague to have them served. Yep. And
it's tough.
It's a lot of work, but you know what? You just got to make sure you pick the right person to deal with it.
What is your feeling? And there's been a big proliferation of these types of companies around here in the last, I don't know, maybe even decade now. These lawyer referral services, like this one phone number you call. We won't even say the number, but call one phone number, and they're going to hook you up with a doctor and a lawyer. Boom, boom, boom. One-stop shopping. What's your feeling on these lawyer referral services?
I think that for me, referral services, I mean, I guess they could work. A lot of them are getting flack, and I'll tell you that there's one in particular that, got in some hot water with the Florida bar for doing some, what they alleged as being unethical with some of their referral practices. And so, that's the bad connotation you get with referral services. Me personally, the reason why I'm not a fan of them is because it takes away from the personal touch, and, you're kind of hoping that the person that they put you with is going to be qualified to handle your case. And so I always advise, do some research. If you're thinking about a lawyer, Google's right there in front of you. It's on your phone. Mm-hmm. And find out who in your area is the best, and ask friends and family. That's sometimes the best thing to do. I'm not a big proponent of the services.
Let's say that you're out at dinner with your extended family, right? And you have a little cousin there who has just started the first year of undergrad at Florida State University. Okay. And they say, James, Uncle James, or Cousin James, I'm really, really want to go to law school. What do you say?
Honestly?
Yeah.
No.
Honestly.
Why does every attorney say that?
It's true. We get that a lot.
No, the thing is, I always joke. If it's really something that someone's passionate about, for me, I wanted to be a lawyer ever since I was a little kid, like a child. But I would encourage folks to go to law school if that's their passion. I will say, if it's one of my family members, and this is not to be, kind of parsing it out, but I mean, there needs more diversity in the legal profession. And so I encourage anybody who is female, black, Latino, whatever. Yeah, definitely get into that field, because there's not a lot of us there. And then on top of that, I mean, at the end of the day, you can never have too few advocates. I mean, there was an attorney that I interned for in law school, and he said, look, even the most despicable person in the world needs someone to fight for them, because that's how our system is set up. And so I welcome it.
So, less than a year ago, as we sit here today, you're listening to Behind the Law, by the way, right here at ESPN 580 Orlando, talking to James Simmons. You were working at Dan Newland's office, making your paycheck, not worrying about, paying the electricity bill at the office and paying staff and that sort of thing. But something came over you and said, I'm going to hang my own shingle, as we say in the legal world. Where were you sitting? And what was going through your head when you made that decision? I'm going to go out on my own.
I actually was sitting on the back porch with my wife, and we were sitting there, we were talking, and
she was screaming at you, saying, no.
Don't do it.
No. Actually, my wife has been a big proponent of it.
Oh, yeah, good.
And she said, look, one of the things that I wanted to focus on is with the bigger firms, and I'm not going to talk trash about the firms that I worked at, but with the bigger firms, it's about volume. I mean, if you go Morgan, Newland, PennDOS, all these other folks, the more cases they get in, they churn and burn, and they don't, in my opinion, it takes away from the personal aspect of practicing. And so you can't, when you have a volume practice, you can't delve into the cases like you want to. You kind of skim over them, and then there could be important facts, important evidence that you're missing, and that could be very important to your client and help them get a better recovery. And so I figured, let me kind of focus more on building a practice that is more, tuned to making sure that we focus on each particular client and, kind of work it up properly.
Who do you have to call when you decide you're going to start your own thing? Who do you call? Do you call Dan? You call the HR people? I mean, how does that conversation go when you say, I'm going to go out on my own?
So it was a candid conversation. I just I went to Dan's office, and we were talking about a number of different things. There were partnership opportunities at his firm that I was considering, and instead of just indicating to him that, I'll string this along and I'll be a partner one day and all this other stuff, I just said, it's gut check time. Let me let you know that at one point I would like to be like you and have my own business. He respected that. Yeah. And he said, you know what? Let's negotiate your severance.
Most of the time when lawyers come in and they're resigning from my firm, it doesn't happen very often, but I can tell as soon as they walk in my office.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, okay, so when are you leaving? Because I can just tell. It's like that body language.
You tell them before they tell you.
Because it is like a close relationship, I mean, we get close with everyone, and it's hard to say, I'm sort of like quitting the team in a way, you know what I mean? But I have nothing but respect for every lawyer that's come through here and started their own firm, and we try to support them any way we possibly can, But I can tell. There's a certain look that I can tell. I'm like, okay, where are you going? What's up? Where are you headed? I know right away. It's crazy. I can sense it. I can. So what do you think? So what sort of we have about a minute left. What kind of marketing strategies are you going to use to get clients in the door? What's your plan?
So what I do is I put on a lot of seminars. I do seminars for churches and some local businesses. A couple niche areas that I practice in is nursing home abuse and negligence, and also negligent security. So this allows me to kind of go out to these markets and say, hey, look, let me tell you what to look for as abuse or negligence, at a nursing home, so that if mom or dad or grandpa, grandma are dealing with this. And then what that also translates to is the folks that are listening to my seminar are also saying, well, you know what, he does personal injury. If I get in a car accident, I know somebody who got in one, I can call him too because he can do those things. So my thing is making sure I try to use my niche market to get into other markets.
I know someone who's pretty good at social media marketing. You should reach out someday. Allie Mack.
That's me.
Her thing.
I will be.
That's her thing. One more time, James Simmons. How do we reach out, my friend?
It is mylegalchampions.com. Also 407-454-3000. And then if you want to email me directly, I'm fine with that too. It's james@mylegalchampions.com.
Excellent job. We'll see you again, I hope, very, very soon.
Yes,
For
sir.
the beautiful Brianna Allie Mack, excellent work today. I don't know much. But I do know one little teensy tiny thing.
What's that?
I will see you right back here tomorrow night on ESPN 580 Orlando.